Trick or treat, everyone. It's Betsy, and here's the spooky offerings we have coming up in the Popping Collars feed for October 2021. On a ghoulish episode of Popping Collars, we weigh in on the most famous and sometimes infamous examples of religious horror movies. Will all four hosts just pick The Exorcist over and over again? Listen and find out if you dare. Greg compiled a whole new panel of guests for this month's episode of The Canon. They dive into the fiendish works of Al Pacino. Going on 30 nears the finish line of movies from 1990 with a look back at the terrifying classic Pretty Woman. Finally, special guest Stephen McHale returns on the Sacred Six to discuss the most horrifying Beatles album of all time, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Turn the lights on, lock your doors. The call may be coming from inside the house, and keep those collars popped.
Hi, I'm Greg.
And I'm Betsy.
And this is Going on 30, a Popping Collars side project where we say who, we say when, say how much with movies that were nominated or should have been nominated for Best Picture 30 years ago. Because this month, we're looking at Pretty Woman, La Mujer Bella. Right? All right.
I really don't feel I have the authority to answer that question.
Everybody comes to Hollywood, got a dream. What's your dream?
When I was a little girl, I would pretend I was a princess trapped in the tower, and then this knight on a white horse would come charging up and rescue me.
Could you tell me how to get to Beverly Hills?
Sure. For $5.
You can't charge me for directions.
I can do anything I want to, baby. I ain't lost.
All right, okay. You have change for 20?
For 20, I'll show you personal. Wow.
Impressed?
You kidding me? I come here all the time. Well, color me happy. There's a sofa in here for two. Close your mouth, dear.
Who is this girl here? Does she work? She's in sales.
Touchstone Pictures presents the story of a date
This isn't a date, it's business.
that led to a deal.
I have a business proposition for you. I'm going to be in town until Sunday. I'd like you to spend the week with me.
That's becoming a dream come true.
Time to shop. Give her your gum.
All right.
I don't believe you did that. You're going to be spending an obscene amount of money in here. So we're going to need a lot more help sucking up to us because that's what we really like. You understand me?
Sir, if I may say so, you're in the right store and the right city, for that matter.
They're two people who have no business being together.
Everybody is trying to land him.
Well, I'm not trying to land him. I'm just using him for sex.
Just doing a little business.
The company I'm buying this week, I'm getting for the bargain price of about $1 billion.
$1 billion? Your folks must be really proud, huh?
Everything was going their way.
Well done!
Well done! Whoa, whoa, whoa!
Until
I don't want you to go.
You hurt me.
Yes.
Don't do it again.
something unexpected happened.
What the hell is wrong with you this week?
You fell in love with him? Did I not teach you anything?
Look, I'm not stupid, okay? I'm not in love with him.
I can find you an apartment and get you a car.
I want more. I want the fairy tale.
I think you are a very special woman.
Touchstone Pictures presents Richard Gere.
So what happened after? He climbed up the tower and rescued her.
Julia Roberts.
She rescues him right back.
Pretty Woman.
Maybe you guys could, get a house together. Buy some diamonds.
I have a brief description of this movie. Would you like to hear it?
Yes, please.
When a millionaire wheeler dealer enters a business contract with a Hollywood sex worker, Vivian Ward, he loses his heart in the bargain.
Oh, I'm sorry. I threw up in my mouth a little bit when you said that one.
I did not write that one. That was not an original.
No.
That's quite the description of this movie.
I am appreciating the use of sex worker.
I think I may have changed the original word.
I hope you did.
All right, Betsy. What is your history with Pretty Woman?
I want to say because of the topic, I did not watch it in the theater at the age I was when it came out. So, because is this rated R?
I think so.
I think so, right? Yes, rated R for sexuality in some language and passing references to drug use. I feel like I must have watched it at like a sleepover at like somebody's house. My favorite memory, though, about this movie actually is the story my sister tells about this movie that my father will not corroborate. She said that Dad made her she wanted to watch the movie, but he said she had to watch it with a parent. So they watched this movie together. And she said the piano scene was very traumatic. I remember my mother making me watch Dirty Dancing with her.
Okay. Dirty Dancing, not nearly as bad to watch with a parent. I
don't know, Greg. Some of those that scene in the dancing studio.
I'm just thinking
you're thinking too much Roadhouse and not enough. You gotta really get in the huddle.
I'm thinking that in Dirty Dancing, there's not a scene coming even close to the Jason Alexander scene from this movie.
Just victimization of women that we kind of took for granted in the 80s and 90s and before and beyond, which was on fire in this movie too. What about you? What was your experience?
Okay, so I was ready to move on to my hot takes. I haven't even talked about my history with the movie. Okay, so this was in the VHS collection.
Hold on. Tom Cruise is not in this movie.
Tom Cruise is not in this movie, but
you want to know why?
Oh, wait,
there aren't lifts tall enough that he can be in a movie with Julia Roberts. Have they ever been in a movie together? I don't think so.
To the best of my knowledge, they have not been in a movie together. Okay, so this was because Richard Gere is adjunct to Tom Cruise. Richard Gere,
the thinking person's Tom Cruise.
Exactly. So, for instance, Pretty Woman was in the VHS collection, and An Officer and a Gentleman was in the VHS collection.
Okay.
So Richard Gere was around. He was Tom Cruise adjacent.
Got it.
Okay, so hot takes about the movie. General thoughts. What do you got?
This movie is built on cliche, tired, worn out cliches. I'm going to give you a few that just came to mind while I was watching this that I could hear batted around inside the script and maybe even in the writer's room. Because I will say there are some elements of this movie that are interesting to me in the way they're written and the way they're well done, the way Richard Gere's character is developed, like how his backstory is shared without a ton. There's a lot there, but not a lot is actually had to be said. Dealing in cliches. One would be hooker with a heart of gold. The other is rags to riches. The other is diamond in the rough.
Okay.
And then the last one that came to mind was the love of a good woman.
All right.
So that it's all because we're dealing with sex work.
Right. Yeah. This is not pretty. This is, by the way, this is Hollywood, right? Which I don't know if people have ever actually been to Hollywood. People have this image of Hollywood as like, oh my gosh, it's where the stars are and blah, blah. Hollywood is a rough neighborhood.
It is really rough. And
Hollywood is rough.
And for me to believe that Vivian and Kit have been able to really release themselves of having a man, a pimp, whatever we're saying, be in control of their careers, in this line of work, and that they're just deciding they're calling the shots and they haven't had like the crap beat out of them for that.
Right.
There's a lot of darkness here. But then it's weird. We start with the strange Hank Azaria drop in with a dead body in a dumpster at the beginning of this movie. Like, what is even the genre of this film?
Okay, so I think I have an answer to that. Are you ready for my answer?
I'm ready.
It's a Disney princess movie for adults.
Yes, well, because I watched it. Actually, I said my almost 14-year-old said, "Can I watch this movie with you?" And I said, "Oh, okay." From what I can remember, we'll see if it's the same experience my sister and father had. I don't know, but we watched it, and with the moment when we're dealing with her learning all the different silverware. Ruby said to me, she said, Hector Elizondo did that same scene in The Princess Diaries. The same actor, same role, but it's Anne Hathaway instead of Julia Roberts. And I said, you You're right. And yes, so I like that. It is, we like a makeover story.
I mean, The Little Mermaid was out like right around this time.
Yeah.
Right. So just switch sex worker for fish woman, and you've got kind of the same story, right?
Yes. I mean, it's just.
I have 4 hot takes. None of them are particularly deep, however.
Okay, great.
First hot take, and it should be said, Richard Gere and Julia Roberts have great chemistry.
They do.
Oh my gosh. It's and I wrote down as a subheading of that, this is a movie star movie, which, man, how great is it to watch a movie star movie as opposed to like a Marvel movie or a Star Wars movie or a Mission Impossible movie. The second thing that I wrote said it feels like a fantasy version of the Trump Maples affair that would have been going on around this time. Now that sounds like I'm disparaging Marla Maples, and I don't mean to do that. I'm not equating her with like a sex worker or anything. Just that she was like a weather person or something, right?
Yeah, there was always this portrayal of her as being a little low rent.
Yeah, she was nowhere near like Ivana Trump, who was like this big name in New York, society. Yeah. It makes me think that this is probably how Donald Trump sees himself in the world, is like the Richard Gere character that's in this movie. Fun fact, at the end of this movie, when this movie was over, I watched it on Hulu, and Hulu asked me if I wanted to watch the Tom Cruise classic Cocktail after watching this movie. I said, no, thank you, Hulu.
The algorithm on your Hulu is strong. I think it knows. It has read you and scanned you properly, and it knows.
I said, no, thank you, Hulu. But do you have Days of Thunder?
Oh, you're still sad that we didn't nominate Days of Thunder for this year. I feel it, and I feel the regret.
Having watched this movie, I kind of want to go back on this movie and do Days of Thunder.
But here is the thing, though. You are right. It is the acting in this movie. It is the two of them that carry the film.
Yes. Finally, the last hot take, Betsy. The It Must Have Been Love video was in heavy rotation on MTV.
Roxette, right? Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And when that song started up, all of a sudden I was flashing back to like 13-year-old Greg, seeing Vivian in the back of the cab, kind of like soapy bubbles its way into like the singers singing and stuff like that. It made me think, Betsy, I have a top 10 list this time. There's no time for honorable mentions. We can't get sidetracked.
You made it the top 10.
Top 10 music videos from movies that were in heavy rotation on MTV.
In 1990?
Nah, just all time.
This feels a little broad, but okay. I'll go with it. All right, what's number 10? Number 10.
I don't want to miss a thing from Armageddon, performed by Aerosmith.
Yeah. Number 9.
Wild Wild West, from the film Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
By Will Smith.
Got it. Number 8.
Lose Yourself, from the film 8 Mile, by Eminem.
Could have been released on its own. Didn't need 8 Mile as a movie. Number 7.
Now, again, I'm not saying these are the best. I'm saying these were in heavy rotation on MTV.
Okay.
Number 7, Kiss from a Rose, from the Batman Forever soundtrack by Seal.
I can't believe it's only at 7. Okay. 6.
6, Gangsta's Paradise, from Dangerous Minds, performed by Coolio.
I mean, giving backward chair sitting just the real credit it deserves. All right. Number 5.
Number 5, Everything I Do It For You, from Robin Hood.
Robin Hood.
Prince of
With
Thieves.
our good friend and talented film director, Kevin Costner.
Performed by Bryan Adams.
For Bryan Adams, Canadian Bryan Adams. All right, number 4.
Ghostbusters, from the movie Ghostbusters, performed by Ray Parker Jr. I was terrified of this music video.
What were you scared? Were you scared of Slimer?
No, I was scared of the ghost in the taxi cab.
Yes.
That one looked crazy to me. Didn't like it.
All right, number 3.
Number 3, I Will Always Love You, from The Bodyguard, performed by Whitney Houston.
Yes, so good. Second place.
Number 2, When Doves Cry, from Purple Rain, performed by Prince. As a matter of fact, this was all I ever knew about the movie Purple Rain for most of my life until I finally watched the movie Purple Rain.
Mm-hmm.
It's just clips from this video.
Yes. Yeah, because it was like the film felt very dark and scary. Like, I don't know, because I was like 10 when that came out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then, so number one music video that was in heavy rotation on MTV that's from a movie, You Could Be Mine, from Terminator 2, performed by Guns N' Roses. I can't believe Titanic didn't make it on your list.
Oh, no. I never saw that video.
Come on.
Maybe I was watching the wrong MTV at the time.
Yeah. You can't hear that flute suddenly in your head right now? I know you can. That's your number 11 honorable mention. Okay, back to the hot takes. It portrays itself as this like feminine empowering movie.
Right.
And maybe that's what they thought that feminine empowering looks like in 1989, 1990. And if it is, it's still sad.
Best scene from the movie.
Two of them in the bathtub.
Well, my mother was a music teacher and married my father, whose family was extremely wealthy. Then he divorced my mother to be with another woman, and he took his money with him. And then she died. I was very angry with him. It cost me $10,000 in therapy to say that sentence. I was very angry with him. I do it very well, don't I? I'll say it again. I was very angry with him. Hello, my name is Mr. Lewis. I'm very angry with my father.
I would have been angry at the $10,000.
My father was president of the third company I ever took over. I bought it. I sold it off piece by piece.
What did the shrink say?
So I was cured.
Well, so you got even. That must have made you happy. Did I mention my leg is 44 inches from hip to toe? So basically, we're talking about 88 inches of therapy wrapped around you for the bargain price of $3,000.
Interestingly written, like when he finally says, I'm mad, I was angry with my father. It took me 10 years of therapy to say that I was angry at my father. And it's just, it gives you more about these characters and like, I don't know, talking about the Richard Gere character in general, how they make you like him, how we see his inner struggle and all of that. And because I also couldn't remember how he and Vivian actually got together. I'm like, is he leaving this party? He's so pissed off. He's going to go hire a sex worker. Like, how do they even get together? And it's this so happenstancy directions, whatever. Again, glossing over real issues. But anyway, I like that scene. And then she says her two legs are, whatever number of inches of therapy.
Right.
Whatever. It's a.
He's very good in that. See, she's very good. Again, these actors are great. Whatever you say about the movie, these actors are great. My best scene is the scene in Barney's office.
And what is your name, miss?
What do you want it to be?
Don't play with me, young lady.
Vivian.
Thank you. Vivian. Well, Miss Vivian, things that go on in other hotels don't happen at the Regent Beverly Wilshire. Now, Mr. Lewis, however, is a very special customer, and we like to think of our special customers as friends. Now, as a customer, we would expect Mr. Lewis to sign in any additional guests, but as a friend, we're willing to overlook it. Now, I'm assuming that you're a relative?
Yes.
I thought so. Then you must be his...
Niece?
Of course. Naturally, when Mr. Lewis leaves, I won't see you in this hotel again. I assume you have no other uncles here? Good, then we understand each other.
I just think, and this is going to bleed into best performance, but I think Hector Elizondo is just kind of having a good time in this movie. And he stands out to me as like, okay, so Betsy, I was an ER person in the mid 90s. I was not a Chicago Hope person. I liked Mandy Patinkin, and I liked Hector Elizondo. I enjoy
him a lot. I've enjoyed him even more so since, Homeland, etc.
But I was not a Chicago Hope guy. So I kind of felt like I was out on the Hector Elizondo train. And so when I saw him again in this movie, I was like, oh yeah, I like that guy. I really
like
do
him a lot.
like that guy.
I did find his performance. It was this interesting. It was this classist, the role that you play and what he did with that part, right? The role that you play in your life, right? He is the muckety muck of the hotel, right? He's the manager. He has a whole group of people who, yes, Mister, all kowtow to him. But whenever Richard Gere's character comes around, he becomes, oh yes, sir. And that moment where he's like, was going to hand him his card, but didn't. And it's like, he kind of shrinks back. And so him being a powerful person in one moment and then a vulnerable person in another moment who can easily be quashed by the good friend of the hotel, Mr. Lewis. So, but then, and to some people he's Mr. Thompson and to other people he's Barney.
Who was your best performance in the movie?
Best performance. It's hard.
We can agree it's not Jason Alexander, right? Okay.
Absolutely.
Time out on the Jason Alexander.
He did his job
thing for just a second.
Yes.
If I were Jason Alexander's agent, there is no way I would have given him this role. I would not have even allowed him to look at the script for this. Especially because you're talking early Seinfeld. So you've got early Seinfeld checks coming in. I just think that with his career, this feels like the worst decision that he made as an actor. Who wants this role? This role is a loser of a role. Oh my gosh.
He'd done a weird Harry Hamlin TV miniseries in 1988, and then it's Pretty Woman.
Okay. But Seinfeld was 90? I mean, okay, so Seinfeld was started right around this time. He would have been known as George by this point.
Started in 89.
Yeah.
But it was a slow burn. I mean, it was a slow beginning.
Right. Yeah. Seinfeld's first season.
Come on. You look at this, Bill. You're going to turn down a Richard Gere. And I know they weren't Richard Gere and Julia Roberts. This is the first time they were Richard Gere and Julia Roberts together.
Yep. I'm turning down this role. Definitely. Let somebody else do this role. No, the first name that popped in my head was Eric Roberts. And I was like, let Eric Roberts do this role.
Okay, that's no.
No, hang on.
No. I think there was something about him being short and kind of, that was all a part of it. And that because he's trying to portray this climber and he's trying to be, and the way he orders his wife around and everything. I think my best actor is the chemistry between Gere and Roberts.
Yeah.
I think that moment where Ruby had never seen this movie before, but she said, oh, I know this scene because she comes out in the red dress.
Right.
And they're getting ready to fly up to the opera.
Yeah.
And she said, he's going to give her some jewelry. He's going to close the box in her hand and she's going to react because she didn't know he was going to do that. He improv that.
Do I look okay?
Something's missing.
Well, nothing else is going to fit into this dress. I'll tell you that.
Maybe something in this box. I don't want you to get too excited. It's only on loan.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do you know that? How is that? Because it is one of those iconic scenes when she looks down that fire escape at him and her billowy hair surrounds her face. And she kind of does her, I could even do it with my shoulders, and I'm like, there is just iconic movie scenes in this movie, but her head goes under in the bathtub and her uncouthness and the way they play off each other. It again is stepping into all these other cliches, but
that jewelry scene is great. I mean, I was watching it again this time and I was like, I know exactly what's going to happen.
Yep.
I know exactly what it looks like. It's still fun every single time. Yeah, their chemistry is great.
Mm-hmm.
I got some stats about the movie.
Stats.
Pretty Woman opened on March 23rd, 1990.
Okay. March 23rd?
No, I'm trying to think
this is a spring break release?
What would have been happening in March?
I have no idea.
This Easter.
When would you have released this movie? Is this a summer movie? I think it's a summer movie.
Yeah, it's kind of a summer movie. But here we go. Domestic gross of $178 million, making it the number 4 grossing movie of 1990. It is the number 266th top grossing movie of all time.
I am really much more helpful about this Trinity. Okay, what do we got?
This is an interesting one because it comes between, you get Pretty Woman, which comes between Men in Black 3. I can't say I saw Men in Black 3.
I mean, I'm going to have to look it up.
I'm pretty sure I may have seen Men in Black 2, but I have no idea what happens in it. And Hitch, also starring Will Smith. So you get Will Smith, Pretty Woman, Will Smith. Where are you going?
I'm going to flirt with Hitch because that feels like that's what that movie's about.
Right.
Okay. Because you got cute people.
Is that Kevin James? Is that Kevin James?
It is, but it's Eva Mendes and Amber Valletta.
So we're talking Will Smith is a dating coach for Kevin James, right? I mean, that's...
Okay, hold on. Now that you kind of say it that way, let me going back to a little bit. What if I flirt with Pretty Woman?
Okay.
Marry Black Marie and kill Hitch. So there you go.
Wow.
Wow is right. That was, wow. I'm just thinking about the long-term stability of the Men in Black job. Like that they're really, there's going to be no shortage of aliens. They look nice in suits and the sunglasses. I think that's the one with Josh Brolin in it.
Okay. Yes. I'm starting to remember Men in Black 3. I was just about to say Josh Brolin's in Men in Black 3.
Yes.
Okay. That can't be that bad.
Right.
All right. So I was going to go the way that you were probably originally going to go. I'm going to flirt with Hitch. I'm going to marry Pretty Woman. I'm going to kill Men in Black 3.
But you're not going to be able to kill them. It's not going to happen for you.
Well, I won't remember that I killed them. That's the thing. This movie got a 64% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Whoa.
Really low. Roger Ebert. What do you think, Betsy?
There are times when he is able to resist the spell of a film.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like this is not one of those times.
This is not one of those times. Roger Ebert says, this is the sweetest and most open-hearted love fable since The Princess Bride. 3.5 out of 4 stars.
Oh, God. Oh. Right. Come on, Raj.
Raj was caught up in the moment. He was caught up in the moment. That It Must Have Been Love came on and Raj was just bawling in his popcorn.
Ugh.
Janet Maslin, film and literary critic at the New York Times, says,
yes,
it is something special. 4 out of 5 stars.
I wanted that to be sarcasm. It's something special. But no. Janet also. Oh, no.
So maybe we're wrong about this movie. I don't know. How did it do at the Oscars?
Right? See, look at it gaslighting us. Look at this. It's just, come on. Okay.
So how did it do at the Oscars? It had no wins at the Oscars, but it did have 1 nomination. Who was it for, Betsy?
Is it original song?
No, it's a person.
Julia Roberts.
Yeah. Julia Roberts, Best Actress.
Best
Actress noms for this movie.
Fine.
Had to be the top floor, right?
It's the best.
All right, I'm coming up.
So what happened after he climbed up the tower and rescued her?
She rescues him right back.
All right, let's talk about the legacy of this film, because I think that this will answer a little bit of why this movie is actually on our list this year, which is, so I wrote down damsel mythology, this idea of like, the knight climbing the tower to rescue the princess, that kind of thing.
But but then they try to inject that whatever sort of feminism shot they try, and then she rescues him right back. Like there's this, element that they're both damaged in some way. And actually, even I would say the movie would say he's more damaged because it's definitely centered around his trauma and not around her trauma.
Yeah, straight up. We've been having some fun at the beginning of this podcast, but I would say that probably more than just about any movie that we've watched so far, this movie may be why we're doing this series, because it takes a long time to see the footprint of some of this entertainment that comes out. 10 years ago, I think that Pretty Woman would not have been viewed as a problematic film.
Yeah.
Certainly 15 years ago.
There's so much in it that is assumption, that you're just assuming that this is the way the world works. And as opposed to saying, this doesn't seem right. Why do men always slap you across the face in just that right place? Do they pull you all aside or out of class to teach you how to do that? Like with that line, so exposing, yet I do not remember that.
Yeah.
I remember him smacking her around, but I did not remember that. And the fact that I could you have a phrase like that, smacking somebody around, that sounds so dismissive. Right. Of actual physical violence.
Well, just think of how she's passed around as a character. It's like, okay, well, I need a date to go with me to this business meeting. Oh, now I met that guy at this business meeting. So, hey, Vivian, come look at my horse and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, she's an object for
and the way,
most of the male characters in this movie.
And the way, though, that she's also with somebody who is also treated as an object. That Richard Gere, though he is white, masculine, male, and rich and powerful, all the women are like, well, he's the catch that nobody's landed yet. He is the golden goose for Jason Alexander's lawyer character. There's this element that they're both objectified in some way too, which I find I hadn't thought about before.
Yeah, you're really bringing a lot more pathos to Richard Gere's character.
So what is that? See, what has it done to me?
I don't know.
Why do I give two rips about this wealthy, sad boy, the sad boy? And maybe some of that's another trope of movies, is the sad, damaged boy that I can love back to life. Like that sort of idea too.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Can all of this, this 30 years later conversation that we're having about this movie, can it all be summed up as the internet gave us more perspectives to explain how something goes from being beloved to being problematic in 30 years?
Well, I don't know whether I'd just say it's the internet, but yeah, I think just, yes, a presence of more perspective, of having the career and lives of sex workers be something that, through knowledge, research, having friends who've worked with that population, that I now have a much different perspective on their lives. And also maybe it's being older for us, to be older people, to know that this is escapism. Life is not this simple. Right. It's much more complicated. And there's a lot more difficult and traumatic moments that lead people to be where they are. I mean, you and I were a friend of the pod, Becca Stevens, and her work, Thistle Farms and Magdalene House. I mean, you hear too much to think of this as something is real.
Yeah.
In any way.
Okay. That's enough.
But it does become the question of, if I am not looking at what is the hope for this movie for my life? What am I hoping for me? That someone's going to come and rescue me. Yeah. Pull me out of my drudgery.
So then that begs the question, who is this movie for?
This movie is it's an age version of Cinderella.
Yep.
It's for people who grew up on the 1950s, Disneyfied, Briar Rose, all of that.
Mhm.
It's for the folks who grew up on that version of those stories.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like we were joking before about it being an adult Disney movie. That's what it is. I mean, honestly, that's what it is. It's
Right.
hitting the same tropes of a Disney movie.
And it's, sometimes we'll talk about films being escapism and that you're going into another world or whatever. This film is even in and of itself, while it's being made, trying to escape from major problems going on in the city in which it is filmed. And so, whether you're talking about homelessness and drugs, and I've forgotten about the drug selling in the movie and skateboard kid. I'm like, what? And then you're expecting Hank Azaria to show back up. At least I was, and he never comes back. So he's just out there fighting crime in Los Angeles,
right? With tourists taking pictures of crime scenes,
right? And that guy who's the bookend guy, right? Like people come to Hollywood, they come to find their dreams. And,
that's right.
All that sort of kind of Greek chorus narrative. And is that what this is about? Is it for people who feel like their dreams have been deferred and they would like to, maybe not even of their own agency, but through happenstance, change the course of their life?
I wrote that this movie is for rich men who want to believe that they're the good guys.
Ooh, yes.
It's also for people looking for something just sweet and simple. I mean, honestly, that's what this movie is. It's a sweet movie that's very simple.
Yeah.
And I think that there are a lot of people that like movies like that. I like movies like that.
Yes.
Which is why I gave this movie a 3 out of 5.
I also gave this a 3 out of 5. Strange.
I wrote, at no point can you say this movie is boring. I mean, it's a great watch. It just doesn't stand up to any scrutiny, like even light scrutiny. That's
Ruby and I, we stopped watching it because we had to go to dinner or we had to go do something. And we had like the last 15 minutes of the movie left. And Ruby's like, I'm really invested. Can we get back to the movie? I'm like, okay, let's watch the end.
Okay, so Betsy, why did we nominate this movie? This and Miller's Crossing.
Was one we both
and
picked.
Miller's Crossing were the movies that you and I picked as unanimous decision to get nominated. So why would we nominate this movie?
I picked this one for cultural impact, longevity of this movie. Yep. I also, for the reason that you said, this is why we're doing this podcast, I wanted to revisit this movie.
Yep. Absolutely. 100%. This is a movie that has a large reputation as being a really great movie.
Makes all the highlight reels whenever there's a montage. It's there.
And this is one of those movies that you look back on, you're like, 30 years have not been great to you. By the way, Pretty Woman, things take time to figure out how they're going to wash out in the popular culture. All right, that is it. Pretty Woman.
In the books.
Betsy, thank you for letting me drive your Lotus around Hollywood. It corners like it's on rails, by the way.
I don't really know how to drive a stick shift, so you would probably have to drive the Lotus. I don't know cars. Just saying.
My
dad and I did do that together. It did not go well trying to drive a stick shift. So you can drive.
Okay. I'll do my best. Next up is our last movie.
Oh, I can't believe we're ending in the P's.
I know. The P's are deceptive. We were so front loaded.
We were so MM heavy.
And G's. That's right. We were so front loaded that the P's are where we're going to end things. Our last movie of 1990 is a Greg pick. It is Pump Up the Volume, starring Christian Slater.
I am going to go get my black trench coat out of my closet right now. And I just can't wait to curl up with his snarl, attitude, and all that.
Let me ask you a question, Betsy. How are you going to watch Pump Up the Volume, considering that this is a movie that can famously not be featured on any stream?
I haven't watched it yet on that weird link you sent me. I hope it's still there.
Good luck to your laptop after you click that link.
Hey, don't tell my employer.
And we will see you for Pump Up the Volume next time.
Bye.